Only Manoj is left.
Manoj from?
Vedanta.
Oh, I see. So how's the telecom thing, Harjit? Oh, sorry, you're already live. No issues.
That was good.
So now whatever you say is basically getting live streamed, and also we have a lot of participants.
I know.
Yeah. So another 2 minutes, 3 minutes, we'll just start. So my only request, I think Harjeet, you were not there, and Mr. Kumar, you were also not there. So participants from the Zoom, we have 100 participants from Zoom, and there are around 500 participants on YouTube. The YouTube participants will send their questions through mobile. So we will get those questions and we will pass it on to you later on also. And we'll try to get it answered, but I don't think there's so much of time. But the Zoom participants have an opportunity to ask you the questions while the discussion is going on. So there are 3 or 4 icons if you just see in your screen. So the chat option, in this chat option, there is an option where all panelists and attendees are there. So they can use that option and they can ask their questions. And also they will ask questions on the question and answer section. So my only request is that you can keep on checking, and if there is any question that seems relevant to you, so just please answer those questions.
Hi, good evening, good afternoon. Am I audible?
Hi Manoj.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Manoj. Can you come a little bit near to your computer a little bit?
I'm very much near to my computer.
Okay.
He's almost inside it.
Almost, yeah.
So Manoj, we have all the panelists now. So we have Jyoti.
Pleasure to be in on the August company of everyone. Looking forward to learning from everyone.
Thank you, and likewise.
Same here, Manoj.
Thank you.
Sakshi, we can't see you.
Hi, good afternoon all.
So she is the managing director of Recruit. And in any case, if we have a technical glitch and the Wi-Fi doesn't work, then she will take over from my side.
Yeah, no, I hope it will. I'm very sure it will be a great hit and a great success. Already, it's live on YouTube. People are watching us live, and I was telling the other panelists that we've been receiving requests even 5 minutes prior to the webinar that please let us join in and register us. So we've given them Zoom, the YouTube link now. And a lot of young HRs and the budding HR are also participating. They've also registered. So definitely they will be learning a lot from your knowledge. And thank you all for giving the consent for being the panelist and sharing your immense knowledge with everyone.
Thank you. I was just
Thank you.
checking with Gaurav. Gaurav, you have a backup, but what about if panelist Wi-Fi doesn't work?
See, today it's a good situation that I am not the moderator. So I have given up on my moderation to Mr. Shri Harsha. So he has
You have given it to the best person who provides insurance. So he'll ensure that nothing goes wrong.
no, daily he posts his achar ke vichar, and I think they are very, very popular.
Yeah.
And we tend to see every morning he's posting a new set of ideas.
Sir, I'm trying to do my bit. Taking inspiration from people like Harjeet and Sandeep Kochar. Badhiya.
So are we set and shall we
Yep.
start?
I think we can.
Yes.
All of us are here.
So very good afternoon to all of you.
Afternoon, sir.
Good
And,
afternoon, everybody.
Very good afternoon.
So you can all actually put yourself on mute, and I'll just give a brief background of all the panelists. So we appreciate your valuable time and hope and pray that your loved ones are safe and healthy. Now, I'll just also give a brief background about India Healthcare Leadership Forum. So India Healthcare Leadership Forum is a professional community of thought leaders of around 10,000 plus members. We are present mainly in India, but there are members also in Middle East, Canada, and North America. So we keep on bringing in the thought leaders to try and exchange the best practices, the best of the ideas, so that it can benefit all the upcoming leaders. So that is the whole reason that we have started this initiative, and we are very thankful to have a very august panel among us. So we all know that COVID-19 has affected communities on nearly every continent, resulting in millions of deaths. While we must take vigorous action to control the spread of coronavirus and save lives, at the same time, we also need to now protect our livelihoods. Organizations globally are experiencing workforce disruption at an unprecedented level. The scale and speed is unprecedented due to this pandemic. Now more than ever, leaders must appreciate that employees are not robots or algorithms. They are human beings with wants, needs, problems, emotions, ideas, and aspirations. This crisis is propelling human resource leaders into the spotlight of this human crisis. And I think you all will agree that the last financial crisis, CFOs were playing a major role. But in our opinion, this crisis is a human crisis, and I think this will be led by the human resource leaders. So your role is very well appreciated, and I think all of you out there in the panel and also out there as participants, we really thank and salute you for your efforts that you are playing in this critical time. Your role has never been more stressful, vital, and visible. So in today's knowledge session, we have an incredible panel who will share practical ideas for keeping employees safe while accelerating performance and charting a path to recovery. It is my privilege to introduce our first esteemed panelist, Mr. Biswaroop Goswami. He is currently working as the Chief Human Resource Officer at GHCL Limited. He has an experience in HR spanning more than 3 decades. He brings with him a wide range of extensive experience in MNCs like Philips India and Timken India, and big industrial houses like Tata Steel, Bharti Asia, and was HR head of Galaxy Surfactants Limited. BG, as he is popularly known, is an active life member of National HRD Network Industry. In personal life, he supports two NGOs, namely SOS Children Village and Panjanya. So welcome BG on the panel. We welcome our next panelist, Mr. Harjeet Khanduja. He is currently the Vice President HR at Reliance Jio. He is a SAP HCM consultant, Six Sigma Green Belt, White Belt in Executive Coaching, and Assessor of Predictive Index. He has been conferred with HR Leadership Award, Pride of Nation Award, HR Personality of the Year, Global Digital Ambassador, and Global Learning Award. Harjeet has been a LinkedIn Power Profile, Chicken Soup writer, TEDx speaker, guest faculty at IIM Ahmedabad, board member of Federation of World Academics, and co-chair of NASSCOM Diversity Committee. So we welcome Mr. Harjeet, our esteemed panelist today. Our next esteemed panelist is Ms. Jayati Dwivedi. She is the head of talent acquisition at Philips. She has worked with companies like British Telecommunications, Conferry, and Genpact at senior leadership level. She has a vast global experience, having worked in North America, Southeast Asia, and India, and a rich cross-industry experience across manufacturing, telecom, consulting, IT services, and ITS in multiple roles. So welcome Jyoti on the panel. We now welcome our next esteemed panelist, Mr. Manoj Gupta. Mr. Manoj is currently the Senior Vice President and Head HR at Medanta Group of Hospitals. He has a rich experience of 25 years of working across business life cycles from startup stage to large MNCs. He has previously worked in senior leadership roles at Columbia Asia Hospitals and Colgate Palmolive. So welcome, Mr. Manoj on this panel. I am also pleased to introduce our next panelist, Mr. Kumar S. Krishnaswamy. He is currently the Group Head HR at Asia Healthcare Holdings, which runs single specialty chains like Motherhood, Nova IVF, and Onco clinics. He has a rich experience spanning more than 4 decades. He was previously the Group Head HR for Medwell Ventures, Fortis Hospitals, Vocard Hospitals, and others. A special mention must be made about rural recruitment initiative, which was actually covered by HBR, Harvard Business Review. So please, we welcome you, Mr. Kumar, to our panel. We have reserved one of the best speakers for the last, Mr. Shri Harsha Achar, who is also the moderator of this session. He brings HR experience spanning across 35 years, cutting across multiple industries. He is the current president HR at HDFC Ergo. He has organized and lectured on personal and industrial management courses, specializing in organizational behavior. He was the former group CHRO at Apollo Hospitals. He was associated with Apollo Munich Health Insurance Company and executive director at V Karma Capital. So without further ado, we would request our moderator, Dr. Shri Harsha, to please start the panel discussion.
All right. Namaskar, ladies and gentlemen. Very good evening, ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to this COVID afternoon. Delhi NCR is literally on fire in terms of temperature and COVID positive cases. Anyway, that's going to be the story every morning, I guess. So in less than 3 months, the way we work and live has completely changed. And on a humorous note, mankind's 3 most widely asked questions with the virtual meets in today's context and happened today also, you said, when will this pandemic end? Question number 1. Question number 2, am I audible now? And last question number 3 is, can you see my screen? We hear this 8 out of 9 hours in a day. On that note, I will do my best to moderate today's session with all the stalwarts of the industry lined up here. All right, COVID-19 has required firms to rapidly embrace change. And this presents a unique opportunity to embed new ways of working in preparation for the new normal. I mean, despite the existence of robust frameworks, strong employee demand, and proven benefits, at the beginning of this year, new ways of working had yet to be widely adopted. And we were discussing that on this group earlier. However, over the past 2.5 months now, we have seen companies shift abruptly to other ways of working, not necessarily remote, and in some cases, literally overnight. So initially, I think this was typically viewed as a temporary measure to ensure that firms and their employees could continue to operate effectively in the short term. There was a sense of treading water until the eagerly awaited end of lockdown was announced and business as usual could resume. But as the weeks have passed and government measures have been extended, there has been a growing realization that this new way of working is likely to persist for the longer term. Now, as they look to the future, the service industry specifically, I'm not even talking about manufacturing because that's another complete paradigm, can expect to move through three distinct phases as they refine this new way of working. Plan how they will reintegrate employees and begin to lay the foundations for a workforce of the future and a more holistic talent strategy. The first rapid response phase is a business continuity driven adoption of remote working. And I think this stage is almost complete as of today. The priority for firms now is the second phase of adapt and enhance in order to optimize ways of working. And the focus should be on enhancing the effectiveness, particularly of remote working, maintaining employee well-being, upskilling teams on remote collaboration to ensure key milestones are still hit, and ensuring that tooling is in place to allow teams to do their jobs. These should not be sticking plasters that will leave institutions with a COVID legacy to solve for, but rather robust strategic enhancements. And finally, the third phase is the transition into the new normal that will emerge, TC, post-COVID or AC, after COVID, and the potential pivots required as part of that journey. Now, central to that is reimagination of what the workforce of the future looks like and openness to embracing a new model of business as usual. Employee choice is also expected to shape the new normal, and it would be naive to think this will be dictated by employers alone. Will employees want to go back to the way they worked prior to the crisis, having productively worked remotely for an extended period? Will staff challenge employers regarding the benefits of being present in office? What might this mean for HR from a risk and a cost-based perspective? So there remain many unknowns and even larger number of variables that will influence what happens next, and by extension, engagement with new ways of working. But there's also a certainty that things will not simply revert to pre-COVID conditions. Companies that can offer their workforce the right tools, culture, and operating structure to help employees through this transition to the new normal will emerge more focused, resilient, and better positioned to prosper in a new competitive landscape. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have divided the responses amongst all the 6 panelists out here under workplace, talent, and leadership heads, and have also attempted to incorporate responses to the number of pre-webinar questions that were posed by many of you at the time of registration. So on that note, I have the privilege of first requesting Mr. Biswarup Goswami and seek his views on blended workspace, which will be remote, on-site, and both. So physical, virtual, and phygital. How does he see that maturing from the manufacturing point of view? Because he's a hardcore manufacturing guy. GHCL is a manufacturing company. And as we said earlier in the conversation, the remote working may not necessarily be something that they will take like fish to water. So it will take some more time. So from a manufacturing point of view, how do they see the world changing into this physical, virtual, and phygital sense? Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Sri. A very good afternoon to audience. A warm welcome to this webinar. As you said that, about the blended workplace, I was cracking a joke with Jayati, my fellow panelist, that when we look at Philips, we had a blender as a blender as one of the products. And when you use a blender for cooking or anything like that, the taste automatically becomes better, right? So forget about 2020. Now, on a serious note, forget about 2020. Let's look at 2018. And there was a group, Publicis Sapient, who did a survey. And they did a workplace survey more related with work from home, remote working. And that was done, mind you, in 2018. And nowhere at that time, COVID was there for sure. And the statistics are very amazing. You know, when you look at the statistics, 41% at that time used to use work from home technology and a mixed platform. Work from office, work from home, all these things were pretty mixed. Maybe right now when I look at it, this certainly this 41% must have gone up, but also the degree of usage. Whether you're working from home earlier, maybe 10, 20%, so that has become now 80%, and the office could be 20%. And as in my current organization, it's a very strongly manufacturing driven organization into chemicals and textiles with plants in Sutrapara, GHCL, as you know, with plants in Sutrapara near the very Somnath temple, very sacred. And we have a Madurai yarn. In Vapi, we have a home textile. And similarly, we have a consumer product division, the iFlow salts and the iFlow honeys and all. So all these things are there. So it's a very, very strongly, I'll say, a manufacturing driven organization. And where certainly the impact of disruption was quite there, quite evident. We were not exactly a pharma company. Some of the pharma company were allowed to produce, but we were not allowed to produce for some time, right? Though our chemical, the soda ash that we manufacture, is used in detergents, right? And that had a very good linkage with detergents, washing, cleaning, hand washing, all these things had a good linkage. And so soon we got a permission, but there was a time which was more than a normal shutdown period annually that we used to have. So we had to lose production time, and production is money for us. You know, if you're not able to produce those bags of soda ash, you lose money. If you lose those orders from US departmental store on home textile, you lose money. If you're not able to make the yarns, there is a direct linkage with production in the home textile. Certainly there were some exports also got impacted. Similarly, the salt works were getting impacted if you're not allowed to work. So looking at those scenarios, maybe government took a very prudent and judicious decision, and they allowed us to work quickly. And we quickly got back. And of course, with various norms in mind, the normal, now I'm going to touch upon the various parts on the manufacturing side that took a turn for quite a bit of change now. For instance, the head office needs to be redesigned. It needs a redesigned look. And as people say that, you know, lockdown 4, lockdown 5, this is the head office too, right? So how do you redesign that? How do you keep the distancing in mind? How do you mask people while they're entering at the gate in the factory situation? So many people together used to enter the gate and get into the swipe machines or the biometrics machine. Can you do that now? No. The biometrics machine, for instance, used to take your finger touch, and that touch can lead to infection right now. So what did we do in the manufacturing sector? We had to do different things. Of course, we used the swiping, we used the face recognition, we had those distancing norm. The moment you get down from the bus, what are you doing? So are you getting into that 2 yards distance? And once a person enters and then you enter, you get yourself sanitized, you wear a glove, you before wearing a glove, you hand wash yourself with the sanitizer, wear the glove, and then you move ahead. And these are very, very new and novel experiences which were not there. And it will take time for us to gradually get imbibed. But as I say, like water takes the shape of a container, so business running as usual, I think we'll find our way. We'll find our way to work in a best possible manner using the various technology platform, using the various initiatives. Already we have done, for instance, HRIS. This is the best time. I was getting very scared personally. We were implementing success factors, and the direct face-to-face meetings were not happening. And I was asking our partners, Price Waterhouse, that what will happen on these e-platforms. Maybe people will not be able to give their best. But very surprisingly, let me tell you, we are finding the productivity has increased. We are able to concentrate more on a very, very specific timelines. We are working well. So I'm having a great time implementing the HRIS in the organization right now. So let me tell you, this is one, and it's the digitization journey. If you're missing on the digitization, you're missing something. Not that, I mean, we have been already a 4 times great place to work. But if you have to sustain, you have to go ahead, you have to use the digitization. Similarly, you have to use the digitization platform, the technology platform. I call it a virtual varsity, like a university. It's a virtual varsity. So use those platforms as much as possible. Way back, I was working for Philips at that time. And way back, we had a one Philips, one dream, because it's a multi-division, multi-business organization. Philips, Jayati is there with me in the panel. It's a multi-division. So we said, why not have an engagement session in Philips across businesses together? And at that time, we had used the online platform called Let's Chat and Operation Honeycomb. And let me tell you, as an engaging session, all the workers in different shifts, of course, we had to talk in different times for 1 hour to accommodate the workers in the shifts, but those things happened. Couple of things that comes to my mind on the manufacturing immediately, particularly with respect to the the COVID SOPs that have come in. So you have to be aware of that, and just not the e-learnings or the technology platforms or headquarter 2 or use of mentoring, coaching. All these things are going to be there as usual. But I would say, look at from the entrance itself. The entrance, the way we enter the organization will be different. The way we enter the factory will now be different. I gave you an example. Attendance system will be very, very different. The way we are going to monitor our attendance in the days ahead is going to be very different. The seating arrangements or the meeting arrangements will be very, very different going forward, be it manufacturing or be it an office environment, wherever you're working, those things are going to change now. Usage of the lift, very important. The elevators, the lift, the staircases, they are going to change, right? More we will encourage people not to put the buttons on the lifts. Rather, you stay fit, get fit yourself and use the stairs. Of course, I'm not recommending for people who are sitting on 14th and 15th floors. Other than that, let me take you about some vendor norms, outsider visitor norm, the cafeteria norms, the security norms, and the do's and don'ts. Even the spitting norms, for instance. In fact, it is going to be very, very important from the infection point of view. No public gathering. And of course, the public transport usage is going to become very, very important. A place like Bombay or Delhi, all these people use the metro, the Delhi NCR, be it Gurgaon, be it Faridabad, be it Delhi, Noida, everywhere. We used to use the metro to quite an extent, the buses to quite an extent. Will you be comfortable using those anymore? Not that you should not be doing it, and not that they will not be sanitizing at their end, but while they come on the public transport, maybe we'll have double checks in the office, but while you get back home, nobody will be there to check you with a thermal infrared temperature measurement thermometer, right? So all these things are very, very important from our perspective, and a new consciousness has to emerge as we operate, as we get imbibed in the manufacturing way of life. My 33 years, or more than 30 years, 25 years has been into manufacturing. And I can tell you the blended workplace is going to become a reality. And the reality in the sense that whenever you have the blend in proportion, it cannot be out of proportion. So you have to be a mix of work from home. You have to have a mix of remote working. You have a mix of plant location working. And this is going to be our way of life. There will be disruptions, there will be logistics disruption, but there will be a solution as well. The courier companies, the way currently they're working, maybe they have to work a little differently. We have to reach to our customers on time. All these things will be
Perfect.
challenges. It will be stressful time. I understand these are very stressful time. These are testing times. These are changing times in this pandemic time. But life must go on. Life must go on, and we'll get to the new normal. I am personally a very strong optimist, and I'm sure I'll get some opportunity of discussing with you during the discussion. Especially my managing director used to love the book Secret. Maybe 1 or 2 minutes Doc is going to give me, and we are going to talk about some of the secrets in the secret, and we'll share that with you. Thank you so much.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. Thanks, Vishwaroop. The show must go on, as you rightly said. And I just put together one thought: blend will trend. So blend is going to be what is going to be trending going forward. So HR's new avatar will have a new level of consciousness. Those were the key takeaways. And that brings me to the next question to you, Jayati. Given this blended workplace, how do we in HR ensure that our teams are thriving rather than surviving in the new environment?
Thank you, Sriharsha, for calling us and putting us all together. I think this is an interesting subject that we are talking and right happening as we talk. Team thriving and survive rather than surviving is very, very critical, and it's top priority for all of us on this panel. If I just look back a little, I mean, a few years back, you said, Bisharup, 2 years back, 2018, you said, I'm looking back a little longer than that. I'm looking back to, I think, 2009, 10, when many services organization had started working on remote. So there was some agenda around 20, 30% working, and especially in the services side, working remotely for a few days of the week. Unfortunately, I would say in India, it did not take off very well right then. We remember what kind of perceived notions we had around people working from home and being less productive, sometimes not effective. That was a big critical problem. Then we also had challenges around convincing our people to do online or virtual training. We've always loved the face-to-face classroom sessions. A nudge to our neighbor saying that how is the classes going on. So I remember there was we had to really bring people together for training sessions into one classroom. People travel, trainers travel, and the amount of spend we used to do. And those were situations that we could afford to spend. We could afford to make people travel and bring them all together. You could we could I come from a sales background, and I could never imagine doing a sales call without being in front of the client. So there were situations, have been situations just 5 months back when we believed in each one of these. Today the world has changed. COVID-19 has put us at a stop and has asked us to think, rethink, think out of box. And in this situation, it's most important for us to see how we continue to do business and make sure our team engagements are at its top. I think as we look into the future way of working, remember the worst thing to happen right now is leave our employees with an ambiguity, not knowing what to do. So in this situation, I would put 4 things in front of us as critical and important for us to do. The first thing being communication, and I'll park that a little. I'll come back to communication a little later. The second piece is very important: enabling the infrastructure, be it services, be it production. I mean, Philips has been in the essential services side as well. So we have to look into enabling the infrastructure. The third most important piece is processes and KPIs. Now, with this shift, with this change in way of working, we've got to relook at the processes and KPIs, and I'm going to talk a little more about it. And the fourth, and not, I mean, this is like the most important piece, is employee well-being at the root of all of it. Coming back to communication, it's absolutely critical that we as HR folks enable a communication across globally, at region, within line of businesses, and within each team. So it's absolutely necessary that our managers are geared to do that communication on a regular basis with all their employees so that the touch points are really maintained and managed. Now, understand that it's all virtual. So we've got to ourselves gear ourselves to be able to do them virtually. So virtual town halls, enabling team meetings, asking that question to each one of our team members, how do they feel, is so important right now. Listening from them as to what they're going through. I've got to really call out that in this kind of a situation, there are heroes also within an organization who are at the front line, really operating with all the risks and are going ahead. So calling that out, bringing them to the forefront, giving them that recognition, giving is absolutely necessary at this time. Some of the things that we've been doing right now in this situation are understanding what is the doing. You spoke, Vishwarup, a little about Philips doing surveys, and we do it through chat bots. We're currently doing commitment surveys, engagement surveys, really getting into smaller teams to understand what level of commitments do they have. You know, so all of these are really helping us being in touch with our employees on a day-to-day basis, which is the most important piece. I'll now go a little into working. We spoke about enabling infrastructure. I think our role is to bring all of them together, the facilities, the manufacturing setups, the crisis management team, all of them together to ensure that the infrastructure is better. There are standards, there are protocols being set up around that infrastructure. You rightly said again on the manufacturing piece. Philips has its manufacturing in India, in both Chennai and in Pune. We have a manufacturing across the world. Now, we realize that some of these manufacturing centers are absolutely critical to support COVID-19 patients, and we redeployed people to enable those manufacturing at a higher production level than what it was earlier. Now, all of this requires rethinking of processes, and that's exactly what has been happening as we talk. Rethinking the entire process of work, rethinking, keeping in mind the safety piece. Now I come back into processes and KPIs. It's absolutely necessary to relook to make sure that all our business units, all our functions look into the KPIs and the processes of working. I'll give you a small example. The entire training piece has, of course, moved virtual, and I have been part of some of those training programs. They've been absolutely engaging. I mean, when we see the tools that are there today, the virtual rooms that we do, the kind of role plays that we do virtually, they're engaging actually. So it's thinking that requires out of box thinking to enable some of them. Uh, I have been taking care of talent acquisition, and we've been doing onboarding remotely, which we thought that was never doable in the earlier scenario. We've just moved it to complete virtual onboarding across the world. I mean, I have candidates joining us from different parts, and we've been doing it very well. So one has to relook at each of our processes and make sure that we are able to continue the process with a rethinked, processed fashion. And last but not the least, the employee well-being. Now, I've got to call out that the entire employee assistance program has always been not taken into with enough of what do I say, importance in an organization. It's time that each one of us relook at it, relook the need for it, engage our employees so that they take those benefits that are available to our employees, and really work on those engagements. Employee assistance program has been of huge value to us. Building that emotional resilience with our employees is absolutely necessary, and I think part of it is our role to enable that resilience amongst our employees.
Very well said. Thank you. Thank you. Bang on. Still blending is still trending, and employees at the center and everything built around them. So the blended workforce or workplace will also see new rules, new processes, new policies, and new engagement methods. In a way, it's new HR. So how will it look? I invite Harjeet to share his thoughts on this aspect.
Thank you, Shri Harsha. Like when you said too many news, So I remembered that ad of Asian Paints. Naya ghar,
Nahi
nayi
Devi.
gaadi, badhiya hai. Look, you know, what is great with new is, look, you talk about new marriage. A lot of excitement comes with it. Your heartbeat goes up. You start thinking about new things. The point here is you actually play on your imagination. And when you play on your imagination, you see everything as good, everything as pleasant. After some time, what happens is you come to terms with life. When you take the bag and go to the market for buying vegetables, then you come to know, okay, this is what marriage is all about. What we are calling as new normal or new processes, new frameworks, new work, right now it is all imagination. Why I'm calling it imagination? So you remember Maggie was one of the favorites, and suddenly Ajinomoto came, and the whole business of 3,500 crores went away. That time, Maggie had a market share of 80% in India. That entire thing got destroyed one day. Same thing COVID has done. Now people were thinking that, oh, Maggie has gone, now the healthy foods will come. The way we are thinking, oh, work from home is going to become the trend. Just see what happened after 3 years. Maggie is there. Maggie is selling more than 3,500 crores. The only difference which has happened is now it captures 60% of the market, 40% someone else is capturing. So you got more people in that business, and those noodles which you were thinking as Maggie noodles, now there are more companies making those noodles. Same thing is going to happen if we are thinking that after COVID, everything is going to be in the new normal and everything is going to be on, say, work from home, which is a new favorite we are talking about. If you think from a mental health perspective, you will find work from home is not that great. You put somebody in work from home kind of a situation, and employer is not able to trust employee. So employer wants to keep the employee engaged. Employee is working with the insecurity mindset that where will I go? So employee is obligating employer. What happens in the process is that all the good things in labor law you built for people, you actually dilute that. And when you dilute that, sometime that revolt is going to happen. So Maggie is not the only example. Same thing happened with Cadbury. Same thing happened with Coca-Cola in 2003. All of them came back. It is not that people have stopped drinking Coca-Cola or people have stopped having Cadbury. In fact, more people have Cadbury nowadays. The thing is, there are certain fundamentals which change as a business. When Maggie crisis happened, after that, what they did was they brought in new variants of Maggie. Amritsari Achari, Bengali Jhal, Super Chennai. So business will start thinking in a different manner. They launched 61 more products. Like when you looked at Cadbury, when Cadbury crisis hit, one was that they wanted to bring people back, but then they came up with Oreo. So they diversified that tomorrow, if this kind of a situation comes, how will I take care of risk? So some of the companies will go for that new structure, new framework, new norms, just to mitigate that risk. If you see overall world, what people are going to do is, this is a new opportunity. If I can cut my overheads, I would like to do that. Second is, we have established that people can work from anywhere, anytime. So can I put some of my workforce on gig economy? Do I want to pay my people for time or for the service? Those kind of things are going to change the dynamics of this whole industry. In fact, for various industries. We will come back to normal, and that will be the new normal. Right now, what we are thinking, that is, most of that is our imagination. That is what I would like to sum up with.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. That was very nice. Two sides of the coin, new thinking, creativity will peak anywhere, anytime. And somebody just mentioned on the call the new abnormal. All right. On that note, let's move to an industry where blended working may not be a choice in the near future. I'm talking about healthcare, which is now at the forefront of this battle. Of course, manufacturing also included. And we have two very senior colleagues, Kumar and Manoj from that industry. So in this context, in your view, first Kumar and then Manoj, how do you think leaders should create a deep sense of employee well-being and mental wellness? Now, you have a unique situation in the sense where making sure 100% staffing is available at all times is a big challenge. So your views, please, first. First Kumar and then followed by Manoj.
Sorry. Thanks, Harsha. Thanks for that. And thanks for giving one step ahead of Manoj, because he comes from a much larger hospital. I was just worried that he may take the thunder from me. Thanks for that. Sorry, Manoj. Sometimes
no worries.
And okay, I will possibly see different panelists are talking about the new norms and things like that. I may have to sound slightly different, say that our life continues. Yes, but there were some changes which happened because of this pandemic, which has hit us now. I mean, few days back, I'm sure all of you would have gone through, it was in LinkedIn, a speech by Sundar Pichai, who was addressing the batch passing out in 2020. He was referring 100 years back when the batch passed out, there was a big pandemic at that point of time. He was referring to one more year when they passed out, the Vietnam War was happening, so all the graduates had to go out. So he said, this also will pass. It was a very interesting address. Why I'm saying it, our industry, probably, I mean, I was not there in the healthcare when the AIDS became very, very pronounced, and a lot of hospitals were taking huge amount of precaution. If you recollect those days, everybody was scared of a needle. Then subsequently, we had SARS or Ebola or Nipah, and now the latest avatar is that of this COVID. Now, but my industry, see, the one part is the maternity business, which is motherhood. The other part is the IVF Nova. It is, in the sense, things cannot be postponed. The maternity a lady has to go through the full cycle. She cannot delay it. It's not an elective for her. Similarly, in IVF, once the cycle starts, it has to be completed. So here, when suddenly the situation became huge, for us, the choice was very clear. We have to keep it open. The customers will be expecting us. So even though the healthcare industry has faced such challenges in the past, for the set of people who are here, see, the industry incidentally has got a very young workforce. My average age of employees in both the setups will be, say, less than 30. And for them, possibly this is the first time they are facing something like that. So what we did, we ensured that the employees were communicated and sort of over-communicated to ensure that, guys, listen, it's the hospitals or the centers are functioning, and we have our customers, and we cannot let them down at this point of time. There is huge WhatsApp messages. And I must admit here that the people rallied really behind us to say that yes, because all these nurses or the other paramedical forces or even the customer care colleagues whom I have seen these people coming multiple times and they have developed a relationship. But at the same time, we were sure of one thing. I don't want my employee to come to the hospital just because I am calling or because there is something called a salary attached to it. So we were very clear. The message what we sent to the employee was very clear. Listen, guys, we will ensure that your health is taken care. We will ensure that the entire place is spick and span and fully sanitized, that neither you nor the people at home face anything. So that's the first message what we gave. And the second one, when they finally came, I mean, we did arrange vehicles to pick them up because the transport was totally stopped. And when they came, we had a team, a housekeeping team, which very clearly was given the task, ensure that round the clock, it not only is clean, people see that it is kept clean. And the next aspect of in the entire, I think it was a major OD exercise. That's how I will look at it. May not fit into the definitions. The guys who were there in the hospital first were my leaders. All of them were there in the front saying that, listen, if you are there, I am also there. And if anything happens to you, it can happen to me also. And the last message to the employee was very clear. Guys, you are, at the end of the day, safety is not something we are creating only for you. You are the person. You will ensure it is safe because my customers' expectation is not changing because of COVID or anything for that matter. They expect their best service, my motherhood, or Nova is known for, and that can be given only by a reassured employee. This is what we did. So this entire cycle, of course, we didn't have much of a time in doing this, but by the time the employee came to the front and was ready to face the customer, the person was fully reassured that, listen, my needs are taken care and my company is standing behind me. And we will give the best. Don't worry, customer. More than the verbal message, what physical message my employees gave to the customers, I think that stood us in good stead. Because remember, during this period, most of the small nursing homes had closed down. And for an expectant mother, every minute is precious. And she needed that facility whenever she wanted it. And we gave it. And the employees gave it. It's because of the efforts what we made. For us, the bigger concern is the people who are my warriors who are standing in the front. We do have an office. We obviously, I don't think I can add anything more than what the other panels have said. We have taken our steps to ensure that the safety is maintained. One thing I'd like to add, all my HR colleagues in Nova, every one of them, during this period, not only ensured they stood next to the employees, every one of them used the time, and all of them got minimum 2 certifications in an HR subject. That is something which I add on. I'm very proud about it. Thank you.
Right. Excellent. Manoj, your views, please.
Well, I would like to put it in a bit different way. When the crisis or the COVID came on to all of us, one was that this was an unprecedented. Nobody has seen it. Nobody has any idea how to deal with it. And to be very honest, on the leadership also, we did not have any kind of a template that what is right and what is wrong. So in initial days, it was basically kind of reactive to the situations that you were basically sucked into. one was that, we identified that the HR team identified that this is the time for an HR team to really rise to the occasion and be the catalyst for everything that we need to drive the business. And how do we drive the business? Because in healthcare, the most important aspect is your people. If you don't have people, you can't run the business. And when I say people, in healthcare, you have, your full-time employees and your outsourced employees equal. So you have to basically get everyone together into this fight. So what few things that we did, one was that, we said leadership at all levels, empower people. And we looked at, these kind of things when you have a security guard who is doing a thermal scanning at the gate. He's been empowered to ensure that he does thermal scanning for every employee, be it the CEO, be it Manoj Gupta, or be it anyone else. If he or she doesn't see anyone wearing a mask, he or she has to point it out. They have to say, because it is not for your safety, but also my safety. We also looked at, some of the, unsung heroes who became the leaders in their own right. You have a security guard or a housekeeping staff who probably you don't even look at them on a normal days. But those guys became so important, ensuring that they keep the whole facility, clean, sanitized, working kind of 24/7. We also, got into a task force which meets for 30 minutes, precisely 30 minutes every morning, including the CEO, the HR, and some of the key function heads, just ensuring to see what is that we need to do for people and for the business. One of the, things that, I realized that, we all talk about the culture of an organization. Culture is something you can't see. Culture is something you can't experience. But what I believe that culture and organization is always experience. It comes to the forefront when you are going through a crisis. That is where you see everyone pitching in together and saying, this is my fight. This is not company's fight. Now, Shreya, you talked about the blended workforce. Yes, in healthcare, it is not an easy thing to ask people to work from home. But we created we tried a pilot that, okay, we'll have not everyone coming to office on a daily basis. We have, we created a roster as a pilot for a week and say, okay, can we get these kind of people coming to office, and then they go back and work from home and others come. And it was a very successful model. And in between, because we are based out of Gurgaon, we had other challenges of, frequent border sealing between Delhi and Gurgaon, Noida and Gurgaon, and all those kind of things happening. What we said, we cannot close our hospital just because we cannot get our own people. So we managed to get at least we identified those 50, 80 staff right from my full-time staff, and we put them in a hotel for 3 weeks to 4 weeks. They were taken care by the organization in terms of their accommodation, because we also wanted to ensure that they are safe when they go back to their families. We don't want them to be worried that, am I carrying a virus to my family? We wanted to be absolutely clear about that. Other important thing was, we were very, very transparent and open in our all communications. There was many town halls that we did, many, kind of WhatsApp messages that we created. One of the critical things that we did, because, initially the way it could be a point to be debated, whether the lockdown, the way it was implemented was right or wrong. But somewhere the mindset of a common man, infection is equal to death, was the, the fear was very prominent in many people's mind. And, how do you tell those people that if you follow few protocols, nothing is going to happen to you? So we got all of these junior staff, including my outsourced staff, and had, kind of a live session with them through my internal medicine head. She telling those people, what is COVID? How does it spread? How can you be infected? What are the do's and don'ts? Each and everything. And when the way she actually communicated, and the doctor who was actually leading, who is the doctor who is actually leading the fight in COVID and taking care of our patients, when she's talking to those people, you can see the motivation at a different level altogether. Another aspect that I realized that, every crisis that the world has seen, the world has become a better place.
Better.
And we kind of become, a new normal, what we say, about 2 decades back when we had the 9/11 crisis, we all got into the new way of boarding an aircraft, go through 10 types of securities and do that and do that. And we became much more aware, much more vigilant to see if something is lying unattended, and we'll go and inform at least the CISF or someone. So this will again become a norm, and I'm again very optimistic. So we might go back to the olden days of pre-COVID, and everything will be normal. We might get into live sessions rather than webinars, talking to face to each other. That will happen, but I think people will have got much more understanding of can't take life for granted. There are many things that people have understood during this lockdown and work from home, of understanding each other. We also got into a lot of mental well-being of our own staff, not through our own internal counselors and psychologists, but also we tied up with some external agencies, giving them an app, and probably they wanted to just talk to someone, because I don't want to talk to a staff on my own hospital. My identity might be exposed. And one interesting aspect that I came to know through one of my friend who is basically a counselor, that every relationship is getting tested nowadays. People who are working from home, right from husband and wife to father and son, father and daughter, and mother and son, every relation, boss and colleagues, bosses, and your staff, every relationship is getting tested. But I think the positive sign is that earlier, probably as an employer, not many people used to trust the employees in an Indian context. But now people are saying, no, the person is available, he's working, they are spending more and more times to deliver the services that are required from them. And I think the boundaries are being broken. There are many aspects where employer and employee are kind of looking at each other in a much more, I would say, positive bonding, if I may use that word. And there are certain things which HR can do, but there are certain things which just happen. You don't know it happens because somebody has just become much more mature in these situations and are reacting in a much more mature way.
Well said, Mr. Manoj. And I think I will also take this opportunity, Dr. Shri Harsha, about the COVID warriors. I think on behalf of India Healthcare Leadership Forum, and I think on behalf of everybody on the panel and also on the participant side, we really appreciate the effort of COVID-19. Actually, they are the real warriors who are fighting on the front line. So we salute your efforts, Mr. Krishnaswamy's, and all the COVID warriors who are out there.
Thank you.
Also, I would take just 1 minute for thanking our supporters who have been with us and supported all our such educational initiatives. So Recruit has always been our strategic partner and supported us. So Recruit is one of the leading global executive search company, and they have also been given the last year Economic Times Best Global Recruitment Company of the Year award. And we are thankful to them that they are continuously supporting our educational initiatives. Thanks a lot. And over to you, Dr. Shri Harsha. Dr. Shri Harsha, you are mute.
Okay. Right, you alluded to a couple of points, Manoj, and thank you for that. So creating psychological safety and personal value will be focus areas going forward. Jayati, this question is directed to you. The question in the mind of the employee will be, do I feel a sense of belongingness and inclusion, and therefore can I build a career here with confidence? So in your view, how should we respond as HR folks or organizations or leaders to this innocuous question, but a very, very pertinent question going forward?
Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Well, the way of doing business is changing, and the critical component of way of doing business is how do we adapt to it. That's the primary piece. Now, if I really look at the talent market, uh, there's a population of talent who are talent for the future. They're the workforce of the future. They're just passing out, they're just coming out of their institutes and are looking for career options. And then there is a talent which are experienced talent who are actually into some career paths and are evolving in their career paths. These are the two segments, if I really broadly classify. My strong belief is that we will all learn to do business in the new norm very quickly and we'll adapt to it. The economy will bounce back, has to bounce back, and will be worth what it is very soon, very quickly. The key things that we need to look at from a talent perspective is adaptability, and which is becoming much, much more critical than what it was yesterday, and learnability. Learnability knows no age, learnability knows no preconceived thoughts. Now, when we say learnability, it's our absorption power to learn quickly, apply, and go forward. So, I personally believe this is an excellent time, and some of you did talk about trainings. This is an excellent time for each one of us, whether we are workforce of the future just passing out of from colleges, or we are already into a career path 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years, 30 years of experience. But what we have to focus is on building ourselves into new skills. I'm sure the market today will be looking at new ideas, new thoughts to come up with with products or applications which will enable us to do business much better than what it was earlier. Manoj, you spoke excellent about the entire healthcare industry and how your teams are frontliners. I think there will be a shift in the way healthcare consulting will go. There'll be more focus to solutions. There will be new technologies, new solutions coming up. And I believe that it's amongst us, this entire talent force, which will come up with those ideas. So I think this is the best time for the new people, for the talent market to really think about a career with a focus on innovation, because innovation is primary right now.
Yep. Jayati, just to
Perfect.
take that, just to take that point, in India at least, the telemedicine was not a very prominent feature. But nowadays, telemedicine has become a part of life. I can
Suddenly,
talk
yes.
to a doctor, and doctor can
Yes.
see my reports. So
That's
even
true.
imagine a doctor. We always feel going to a doctor, and unless he sees our pulse, he will not
Yeah.
be able to identify what we are going through. But today, sitting virtually and getting your treatment done.
Right.
Absolutely. You just
Absolutely.
said it, Manoj. So companies like us are looking at those innovations, are going ahead into our solutions, and it's up to us, the talent market, to really upskill ourselves, think in that line, and bring that value in front of us so that they can be hired, they can be engaged.
And
Lovely.
I think so. Sorry, Shreya, sir, just I'll take
Yeah,
20
yeah, yeah.
seconds.
Please,
You
please,
know,
please.
uh, till probably few months back, we used to say it is not possible. No, how can we do it? And today we are talking, can we get it done this way? Means imagine, things just happening because it is a matter of continuity of business, matter of life of our employees.
Right. Great optimism at its best. And this will call for a lot of change in terms of mindset of leaders and managers. That takes me automatically to the next question. And Harjeet, this is being directed towards you. In this new context, our leaders will also need to display a lot of care, humility, compassion, humanity, resilience, and all the new age skills post COVID. But there is no precedence of such a pandemic, nor is there a template for leaders to deal with such situations. How do you see this new skill set emerging or evolving in the digital context?
Okay, that's an interesting question. With context to the discussion that Jayanti and Manoj were having, look,
Jay.
I did not get COVID, but I got a stomach ache. And the first thing which came to my mind at 2 o'clock in the night, like as a human being, what comes to your mind is, let's go to hospital. And moment you talk about, let's go to hospital, your wife panics. How can we go to hospital? Point is, then where should we go? You can go to a platform, and that platform connects you to a doctor. And when that platform connects you to a doctor, that doctor is available. Till now, there was no payment platform. You will see very soon, there is a virtual hospital which is coming, which is connecting doctors. And there is a payment method. You pay for that doctor, take consultation. So medicine is coming to your house. Your tests are getting done sitting at your home. Those kind of things are going to happen. Now, who is going to make this happen? Of course, leader. So when we are talking about leadership in this digital age, what comes to my mind is Stark. You know, the Iron Man. That is what you need. Stark is a short form. I will explain what I thought. The one who can sense opportunity. The one who can leverage technology. That is what Iron Man used to do. He had an Iron Man suit and he used to keep improving his technology. And so the one who can leverage technology. Third is who can rally people. We were talking about rallying here. So if you can inspire people, make them believe that this is what is going to happen, you should focus on technology. Then the one who can do adaptation. Adaptation in terms of, say right now what is happening is a lot of restaurants, 5-star restaurants, they have started making delivery to your home, which was not possible earlier. Now you sitting at home, you can order meals. And finally, creativity.
Correct.
Like contact center industry, what they have done is they have actually moved into work from home completely. Like the work from home, while it is not affecting many industries or not affecting in that great sense, but some of the industries, it is going to change the way of working totally. I don't think contact center industry is going to bring people back to office because their office infrastructure cost is 50% of their total cost apart from salary costs. So if somehow they can reduce that, they would not like to go to a physical model. They will they would like to convert the whole thing into a digital model. So I believe this Stark capabilities are the capabilities which are going to be the leadership qualities for the leaders who are actually looking for a bright future.
Thank you. Thank you. That reminds me of one शेर. नजर को बदलो तो नजारे बदल जाते हैं, सोच को बदलो तो सितारे बदल जाते हैं, कश्तियां बदलने की सोच को बदलो तो सितारे बदल जाते हैं, कश्तियां बदलने की जरूरत नहीं, दिशा को बदलो किनारे खुद ब खुद बदल जाते हैं. Well, coming back to you, Biswaroop, you said you will share some secrets. So in this new context, the expectations from organizations and employees both will increase and change several folds. So what are those some tips that you have or some secrets that you wanted to share?
Yeah, first thing is, thanks, Doc. I must say a couple of things here. When we used to talk in the traditional sense of employee engagement, I've written an article on 4 P's of employee engagement: people productivity, and people processes, people development, and people dialogue. So those were the 4 P's. Now with this COVID environment around, I think I have to write 3 A's. and tell me these 3 A's will be, how do you adjust? How do you adopt? How do you adjust? And how do you adapt? So these will be very, very important for us in the days ahead. These are new things. different things coming up, but we will need to adapt to the external environment. Many organizations talk about a learning organization. How do you create a learning organization? When we create a learning organization, we must learn from our success, we must learn from our failures. And the best learning organization, they leverage the learning for better performance or higher performance of the organization. So we need to create that chameleon in the organization which adapts to the environment to survive. And there comes the survival of the fittest, right? Look at the African jungle. And you remember that story. Every morning in that African jungle, a lion and the gazelle both wake up. And as they wake up, both keeps running. One starts running because the gazelle has to be faster than the fastest lion.
Correct.
And the lion has to be just faster than the slowest gazelle. So whether you are a deer or a lion, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So I personally feel, I have been doing yoga. I've been from my school days. You have to keep yourself fit. You have to keep yourself healthy. Giving way for somebody, but these are some of the things that you need to do. One of the major things that has happened because of COVID is fear psychosis in the mind of the employees. And how do you take out this fear psychosis? That is very, very important. And as Jayati said, the communication play a big role here. Communicate, take a feedback. And if the communication can happen from the top, and in my organization, I've been doing that for every 3 weeks. There is a webinar when the MD is talking a lot of things. And among that, he always will have a liner. When the things get tough, the tough gets going, right? So it's a very famous line. So it will not be an easy place. It will be always a place. Never it was an easy place. There were some problem or the other. Some companies got closed. Some retrenchment used to happen. Some layoffs used to happen. So a lot of people, how do you handle this, unemployment issue? I say even in the past it used to happen. It will happen, but you have to get into the new norm. You have to get into the new skill sets. You have to learn those and move on in life. Look at The Secret. I've been telling you about that book. The first thing that comes to my mind, what you resist, you attract. That's a lovely book. And I'm sure all of you have seen, and it's in the Netflix, the movie also you can see. What you resist, you attract. Such a lovely line. There are enough goodies still available in this world to satisfy each one of us. You cannot help the world by focusing on negative things. You get to fill the blackboard of your life with whatever you have. So, whatever you want, but think positive. So idea is if you don't think positive, you will not remember even the songs that we today, Bob McFerrin, for instance, or the Stevie Wonder, don't worry. So in the life, you have to understand all these things, and there is a message everywhere that it has to be a survival of the fittest, and there will be tough times ahead of you. It is only how you look at things positively that will take you ahead. Thank you.
Dr. Shri Harsha,
you have to unmute.
You are on mute.
Oh, okay, sorry. Taking a cue from the word success. Success is called safalta in Hindi, and I just remembered 4 lines. सफलता एक चुनौती है, इसे स्वीकार करो. सफलता एक चुनौती है, इसे स्वीकार करो. क्या कमी रह गई, देखो और सुधार करो. कुछ किए बिना ही जय जयकार नहीं होती. कोशिश करने वालों की कभी हार नहीं होती. So we are in that stage where we have to keep trying. So before we go on to the questions that are coming
yes,
in, I
sorry, see. लहरों से डरकर नौका पार नहीं होती. कोशिश करने वालों की हार नहीं होती.
क्या बात है, क्या
बात. That was great Harivansh Rai Bachchan, and very famous line, and I love to quote that. Thank you for bringing it up.
No problem. So change is here to stay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Would it be right? This question is to all the panelists. So with their wisdom and nuggets that can come back as a response. Would it be right to say that patience, practice, and resilience will see us through this pandemic? Your thoughts quickly before we take on some more questions. Who wants to go first? Ladies first. Jayati.
Resilience is a beautiful piece. Emotional resilience is key to success. Patience, of course. Uh, I would like to call out emotional resilience being one of the leadership qualities that we should look at this time. When we say emotional resilience, we mean emotional resilience for not just the leaders, but every employee. And that's a part of our job to make sure that the emotional resilience is at its peak right now. Through this kind of an emotional resilience, and what is emotional resilience? It's stretchability. It's to stretch ourselves to be able to take us through this kind of a pandemic. All of us, we heard about how manufacturing setups, we have customer service where we have heroes from customer service traveling during that lockdown period, initial lockdown period, to absolute obsolete areas, interior areas, to deliver and install our products at hospitals. So, and you require not just trust to do it, but you require that emotional resilience and that ability to do it. So I think it's absolutely necessary that we all cultivate that emotional resilience. Many of you have spoken about yoga being a practice. I think all of it helps us to be much stronger. India is known for our resilience. We've practiced it for years, for ages in the back. So I think that's absolutely critical for us to tide over this kind of a pandemic. And we
Thank
will.
you. Thank you very much. Kumar, over to you.
Let me keep the answer very simple.
Yes, sir.
It is required. Whether in terms of the leadership, I will rather sort of saying that the leadership standing in the front must exhibit that all the three qualities what you have mentioned, and I'm sure that's what we will drive. So it requires that leader to and understand at this crux, this particular point of R, we require that. I think.
Thank you, Harjeet.
I will tell you a story which you already know. So my dry cleaner called me and he said, "Do you need vegetables?" I again checked the number. I said, "My God, this is dry cleaner only." So I asked him, "Boss, you are a dry cleaner. How come you are selling vegetables? Your core strength is dry cleaning." He said, "Sir, you got me wrong. My core strength is flexibility, adaptability. So right now, if there is a demand for vegetables, so I'm selling vegetables." And you know what this guy did after some time? So I saw that the variety in the food is getting changed at house. There are so many vegetables which are coming. So I thought my wife has changed the vegetable vendor. So I asked her, "Did you change the vegetable vendor?" She said, "No, it is the same vegetable vendor." I said, "Then how come this variety he started just like that?" She said, "Look, what he started doing was he has created a Google form and he takes orders on Google form. He accepts all kind of digital payments. So his business has grown 10 times. And now he can afford that variety which you are eating." This is a perfect example of a dry cleaner is starting from somewhere in a business which had nothing to do with him, becoming so successful just by practicing those qualities which you talked about.
Perfect. Manoj, over to you.
I think apart from all those words that you mentioned, one of the other thing is other word that I would really like to elaborate upon is the collaboration. When it's basically we are all in a war currently. You can't lead a section of a society to lead the war for you, be it government, be it NGOs, be it healthcare, be it anyone else. We are all in it together. So So I think collaboration at all levels, be it as an organization with the stakeholders, with internal stakeholders, external stakeholders, because you also have a responsibility towards the society as a general, not only your organization and your employees, but I think as an HR person, I'm also looking at what best I can do for the society in general where we serve or we have our presence. Taking care of our employees, because employees, when they go back to their house and their colonies or societies, they should not be being subject to kind of a stigma that you are a COVID either patient, or you are coming from an area where there are too many COVID kind of red zones. So to create those kind of channels to educate people and collaborate with everyone at the right places to ensure that what we are doing is right. We are also learning from others while collaboration. Today we are collaborating with so many people and learning from each other. Every organization is doing something or other, even though the foundation remains same for every one of us. But there are certain nuances that everybody is bringing in. So I think collaboration becomes much more important to me. And more importantly will be the transparency, the way the leaders in the organization and the HR in the organization reaches out to their employees and staff. Uh, there are multiple, anxiety and the skepticism that is going around in employees' mind, be it, economy, be it layoffs, because you are hearing so many things around you. Fortunately or unfortunately, WhatsApp gives you all those news which probably you don't need, but still you get it. And then you start behaving, reacting onto certain news which may be right, which may be wrong. And then it impacts your performance, it impacts your delivery in the office. So basically, it's more important of being open, collaborate, and communicative.
Perfect.
Yeah, thank you.
Vishwarup?
If I can give my 2 cents.
Please.
Thank you, Manoj, for this collaboration. I mean, other than this collaboration, I think the leadership itself is going to be very, very crucial in these changing times.
Absolutely.
And how does leader manage the change? The change management is going to be very, very important. Remember that book of change management by John Cotter, again, that 8 steps to change, and lovely book, Our Iceberg is Melting. And it resonates so well with the current times. I will request everybody who is present in this audience, again, reread that book. If something is melting, your home is not there, how do you handle that change? And as leaders, again, we need to be looking at the empathy part of it more than the sympathy. How we become empathetic leaders, how we become role models, how we walk the talk. You cannot ask your team to come to office when you are hiding and you are not going to the office as the HR head for the first time. So you have to lead by example. You have to show that you don't have to fear anything. And how do you take out the fear? You have to be absolutely, you have to work the talk, be a role model. How do you do that? How do you inspire commitment in others? How do you develop self and others? Believe me, Jayati was talking about resilience, perseverance. Just 2 days back in the night, I did a course from Skillsoft on perseverance and resilience once again. I got certified, I got a badge, I circulated it the team. This is the time maybe you can reread those things and redefine yourself as leaders. That will create a huge, huge difference. Thank you.
Excellent. Wonderful insights. And I see some questions. Hanji.
के स्टाइल में कुछ बोलो क्या?
Sorry?
कैसे आकाश में सुराख हो नहीं सकता? एक पत्थर तबीयत से उछालो यारो.
If patthar is equal to question, there are a few questions that are there, and some of them are around how should we ensure culture of the organization is maintained? What should HR do? There is one for Jayati on succession. So I just have a few thoughts before we'll take these 1 or 2 questions. And to the larger audience, I want to say, this is not directed to the panelists. Ladies and gentlemen, organizationally, nothing lasts forever. No structures, no processes, and no frameworks. And we also live in a world where no gurus, pundits, or prophets can predict the future. Now, in the Corona battlefield, for all the HR people on this call, HR is like Lord Krishna, the one who enables, motivates, and guides. And in short, that is the role that all of us need to play in these times. There are no guarantees. There are no commitments. While the pandemic may have an expiry date, nobody knows how long and the impact that it may have. Every day is a new day. Decisions will change by the hour, and this will happen every day. So from an HR angle, what I'm seeing is HR must stay strong and keep things together whilst employees balance their work and home needs. HR must continue to question how we are going to continue to navigate our business through this change. We must focus on keeping people engaged, motivated, connected. All these words came up during the responses of various panelists here. Continue to maintain the culture. Nothing changes. The culture doesn't change just because you're offline.
Yeah.
So persevere that camaraderie, and whilst trying to find out what the new work world will look, and you are also fighting yourself. We understand that because you are also in the same boat. Or rather, we are all in the same storm, but on different boats, if I may use that word. So HR must also try to manage their own self-care and mental state whilst juggling the emotional demands of all those in the business they support. So as I said, we have to be Lord Krishna. So there was one story the other day. Lord Krishna doesn't get off the Rath in Mahabharata till Arjuna gets down. And when Arjuna and Karna are fighting, he is always looking at Karna for giving him the appreciation. So Arjuna asks him why. So once Krishna gets down from the Rath, that is when it explodes. He says, this is the power of Karna's arrows. As long as I was sitting, the Rath was good for you. So we have to continue to sit there till the last man crosses this pandemic called COVID. So on succession, Jayati, there was a question, what needs to be done during these times?
I think succession is equally important, remains as important as it was in the pre-COVID days. I think doing a right succession planning, identifying those critical roles across the organization, which needs to be always staffed correctly with the right kind of people, making sure that we have the dev centers. And in fact, as we talk, I can tell you that all of this is happening virtually. So I think the process of doing it has to be changed, and we've got to look at it, how we change them. But all of them remain as critical as it was in pre-COVID days. Nothing changes as far as such processes are concerned. But how we do it is what needs to be said. There's a lot of technology that has come in already in this space, and we need to just evaluate those technologies, adapt to them, and just work it out so that dev centers can be done, coaching plans can be done with successors, and I think all of it is absolutely necessary.
Excellent, thank you.
So
there's one.
Share just 30 seconds.
Please,
It is basically, the fundamental role of HR is not going to get changed. It's only how do we use the new ways of working, new tools, new technology, and new ways to collaborate with various people. So I'm still using the word collaboration because the fundamental role of HR, probably after this, it will come into much more prominence, how to bind the culture and the employees together in an organization.
Perfect.
Yeah, just to add on to that culture piece, I think it's very important for the leadership to be right now go back to the core values and the purpose of the organization.
Exactly.
Tie it down to purpose of the organization, never like we have never done before. That's, I think, the leadership skills, that's the leader quality that one has to look into. Go back, look into your core values, core mission, purpose, realign yourself to your purpose.
Yeah.
Perfect. Very well said. Very well said. I think the next question was actually to you, Manoj. You already answered it. So, any closing remarks from anybody? Harjeet, any more stories?
Yeah.
Very interesting insights through those stories.
Look, when we were talking about this HR role, so let me add something to it. So, look, HR has been doing this role of matchmaking. We were always Panditjis of the corporates. So what is happening is there are few more roles which are going to come into HR role, which let's call that feel is going to come into it. So role as a friend, how to manage this kind of crisis. So you will have to more like a friend. Second is you will have to evaluate jobs now. That is going to be a very important thing. That do you need Lugai for that job, or do you need Bai for that job? So that will determine whether you are hiring full time or whether you are putting people on gig economy. Very crude example.
Correct.
So
Very appropriate.
third is that you will have to do a lot of event management. Like after marriage, event management happens. So similar kind of event management, that is what HR people will be required to do, because the stress which is getting created, that gets busted when there is something called informal talk. Right now, when you are on call, when you are interacting, that informal has gone away. So HR will have to bring that informal touch again. And last one is feel, FEEL. So last one is the role as a lawyer. Like we do prenuptial agreements. So agreements are going to change. That if you are putting somebody on, say, a part-time, or if you're putting, like healthcare is very well known for doing gig economy with doctors. One doctor can work in multiple hospitals. So how that entire thing will happen in various industries and with various roles, those prenuptial agreements will have to be written very carefully. And that is where HR role is going to be very, very important.
Perfect. I guess we've come to the yes. Yeah, Gaurav.
So I think it was an incredible panel discussion. We are still getting so many questions, and I think we will come back to each one of you for answering those questions. But I think it's an excellent panel discussion that we had. First of all, we would like to thank our moderator, I think, who has done an extraordinary job. So please give a big round of virtual applause to our moderator. And please listen to his Achar Ke Vichar also daily, because every morning he posts some fantastic thoughts every day. And then we will thank each panelist for, I think, sharing their wonderful insights. So as everybody was saying a share, so I think I will also then end with a share, because in every panel discussion, whenever I moderate, I use a lot of shares. So जिंदगी बहुत कुछ सिखाती है, जिंदगी बहुत कुछ सिखाती है, कभी हंसाती है तो कभी रुलाती है, पर जो हर हाल में खुश रहते हैं, पर जो हर हाल में खुश रहते हैं, जिंदगी उन्हीं के आगे सर झुकाती है. So whatever happens, I think we all have to be positive. Our employees are looking at us, our communities are looking at us, and once again we will also thank our COVID warriors for fighting this war. We are very thankful to them. And we thank all our participants who have made this event a big success. So thanks, and please take care.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you, Sri.
Thanks, everybody. Have a nice weekend. Much.
Right. Bye.
Thank you, panelists.
हेलो
हेलो
हाँ सर लाइव है मैं स्टॉप कर रही हूँ
स्टॉप कर दीजिए ठीक हो गया और ये इसका ना ये पैनलिस्ट के क्वेश्चंस प्लीज लॉक करा इसको करा दीजिए महक को बोल के
ठीक है वी आर लाइव